Hey everyone, this is D, Movie Man, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with yet another Out of Theater reaction. But this one's a very special one. Maybe the first of its kind, hopefully not the last. But yes, I am here with some very special guests. And those guests are none other than the one and only Anthony A. Perez. Did you see that in Raven OS fans? What's the number?
89.
89. Here we go. We have something to talk about. Hey everyone, this is the Movie Man, also Anthony A. Perez.
Did you see that?
Raven Nose Fan 89.
Yes, and we have just gotten out of the theater to see Captain America Brave New World, directed by Julius Onah. Now, we are going to start with the pros on this. My first pro is that I appreciate the fact that we are picking up and exploring some more of what was established in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. There were some storylines that I wasn't expecting them to pick up with. As well as some exploration of certain characters and storylines that we haven't really seen explored in a long, long time. So that's my first pro.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. I think that the fact that you're able to kind of tap into some things I feel like we haven't really tapped into is pretty awesome. But on top of that as well, the fact that we're able to see characters that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. Not even in just the recent Marvel stuff that's like felt kind of like loose ends, just being able to like reconnect to things that have felt forgotten for over a decade. I think was awesome. And the movie's, if anything, is jam-packed. Pretty awesome action. I think all of us can say that there's at least some really fun action to watch.
Yeah, I probably agree. I think when they touched on Isaiah Bradley's character,
Right.
that was a big deal with Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I, probably told you guys about, like, kept up to date with, like, the most recent Marvel films. I've been out of the loop for a while. So when I seen that film, I was like, oh, right, okay, we're talking to this guy, we're acknowledging him. I like the serious part at the beginning of the movie. Like when it's over stuff, it felt defending, like, Winter Soldier vibes. I was like, okay, we're in for a good time, and I'll leave the rest for the negatives. But Ryan, what was your positives?
I would say with just talking about the action, what I liked is like the camera was very focused. I felt like there was like no shaky cam. I felt like there wasn't a lot of quick cuts or anything like that. Like you could really see all the action really unfold as it was going along. And I just think they did a really good job with that whole aspect. I think that Anthony Mackie, he does carry the character very well. Particularly for me, I really like the blue suit that he had. I thought that was the best suit that he had. If I would say a little bit more of what I liked a little bit more is like maybe have a little bit more of just partner Falcon a little bit more. I wish he had a little bit more of a presence in the thing. This is kind of lacking a little bit in there. But I did like his character and I get to see them team up together.
Yeah. And I do think overall it's a well-cast film. Now, what we do with the cast is another story, but overall we do have like some solid actors in this film and some surprising actors that pop up as well. So, with that said, we are also going to jump over to the con. Now, this isn't going to surprise anybody because I say it all the time, but one of my biggest cons with anything is writing, and more writing. And here's the thing, I don't expect Marvel films to have, Oscar-winning dialogue, characters, giving monologues. Like, I don't expect all that. Although, I forgot that Angela Bassett was Oscar nominated for her monologue in Wakanda Forever, so clearly that is not correct. However, but I'm not saying everything doesn't have to reach up to that level, but we need to get something that at least feels cohesive, or the lines kind of hit you in a certain way, they resonate with you emotionally, and I feel like so much of the dialogue is like flat and just kind of, I don't know, like it was people said things and it was like, all right, and moving on. That was a big issue for me, and it's going to continue to be a big issue for me, especially going into these next films. Like, please get the writing correct. I appreciate the action and all that stuff, but please, these characters, the dialogue is killing me.
Yeah, I think for me, the action's great, the visuals are cool, there's all those different elements, but it did kind of feel like a Disney Plus MCU show, just kind of expanded into feature length, which is okay to an extent, is fine for the action and the visuals of it all. But when it comes down to the writing, as Dee said, it felt very just simple to me. It felt very convenient, predictable. A lot of times there was some sort of, conflict that was built up, especially in a Captain America film that's typically a political thriller. You typically have these elements that are a conspiracy and different things like that. Things were always resolved so quickly, and it ultimately left us in a place where it was like, here's a danger, and then you'd give you this expository dialogue that would just kind of wrap it all up and give you all the answers so clearly. And it kind of removed that mystery. I think about things like Winter Soldier or Civil War. There are surprises for the audience as you're learning things alongside the characters as the movie's playing out. And this film just didn't have that, where it feels like you're never really ahead of the characters, you're never really behind the characters. Even the characters are kind of just learning the exact same time all throughout the movie, which just led to it feeling very safe. Unfortunately, on a narrative level, it does do things to push forward the story at times, but it ultimately felt safe. Now, my biggest con outside of the writing is the fact that I think the marketing really gives away too much of it. As you can see right here on the poster, you see the big Red Hulk hands. I'm a longtime fan of the comics. I've wanted to see Red Hulk on the screen since they first brought the character, without being Red Hulk, into these movies. And the fact that they were bringing him in was cool. But most of what you see in the trailer is in the movie. And it's one of those things where it's just like, there's so much that they announced in terms of cast members that return, and so many other images that started to leak online that kind of became part of the marketing for the film, that ultimately just felt like there wasn't a lot of surprises watching this movie. Which, as somebody who loves the surprise element of this film, I can look past a little bit of the bad vibes if I feel like they're able to give me a little slap on the ass a little bit, make me feel like, hey, that's for you, bud. And
come on, let's get some slap ass over here. No!
I didn't really feel it in this one. It felt like I got exactly what I was shown, and it wasn't anything on the surface.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it wasn't so much stakes. I felt like I wasn't in trouble being at a certain point. Anthony Mackie's in trouble. He's going to die. He's struggling to get out of this predicament. Like so many times you see Steve Rogers in his helmet in the previous movie. This guy could die. Or that big scene with the soldier. When he's Falcon, for example. This didn't feel like that. Being the end, it felt like, as you guys said, safe. Some of the CG bad. It's like the cherry blossom scene. I'm just going to say more on that, but that was Anthony Mackie stood in a screen, right? Some of the effects of Harrison Ford's whole air machine pumping into his pants to be like, wow, this guy's huge. So yeah, some of it just felt not great, and it just felt like if it was a tick box exercise to get press this to get to the next stage, let's get this into the next movie, right? There's reference in this one, and I don't know, just not really cohesive. And especially felt kind of a quick plug Rez we've done Civil War not too long ago, and so we went back and reviewed that movie, and that's such a cohesive movie with so many characters. And this movie has less characters and can't do the same job or better. So I don't know. There's a poor execution end of it really, which was unfortunate.
I would say add to that is they didn't really pick a villain either. They had all these different villains going on. I forgot the guy's name, whoever the green guy was.
Yeah, the doc. Yeah.
I refer to him as Bill Nye the Science Guy in green makeup.
Also known as Mojo Jojo and
Squidward.
Yes, and it's all those are actors.
Right. Yeah, and I just felt like every time he was on screen, I think when they first kind of introduced him and he was in the darkness and he had the voice, you were kind of intrigued. And you're like, oh, what's this guy gonna do? And then you learn his motivations. You're like, okay, I understand what's going on and everything. But then as they just kept showing him, it's it just didn't feel he just felt goofy.
Very
right.
So that didn't work for me really whatsoever at all. And then I also felt what Anthony mentioned about how they did all the marketing with the Red Hulk and everything. I felt like you were just sitting there waiting, okay, when is Red Hulk going to show up? The movie was getting ready to come to a close. So it's you knew that he was coming up, and you knew that it was going to be probably more of a brief type of moment, right? Because that's just what it felt like as the movie was going along. So
I think it's fair to say as well, just not to interrupt, but I think it's fair to say if anyone who's excited for Red Hulk, it doesn't include the last portion of the movie for 10-15 minutes.
Right. If that.
Right. If that.
Maybe
So
7 or 8 max.
Yeah. Right.
I'm going to go ahead and have us get into our grades for this film. I know everyone has their individual rating system, so I'm going to give, personally, I'm going to go ahead and give Captain America Brave New World a C minus. I appreciate what they were trying to do as far as because I love within Marvel, there are so many different perspectives. You get the cosmic, galaxy perspective, the supernatural, magical, mystical piece of it, but I also like that within Marvel, we also get like the political intrigue, the espionage, like those grounded, gritty conspiracy, like all those vibes. And so I like the fact that Marvel has been able to incorporate that with films like, the Captain America trilogy and so on and so forth. And even in something like Thunderbolts that's coming out. Like, I like that kind of feel. And I was hoping this would bring that back, and it was trying to, but it didn't quite get there.
Yeah, I don't really know what I want to rate it yet. It's tough. If anybody follows me on Letterboxd, he'll know that I change my score sometimes within the first few days of seeing a movie. I'll place it as something, I'll alter it, which is why I don't put scores in my videos. I'm too inconsistent with that. But what I'll say is, right now I'm teetering. If I was just looking at like a 5-star basic, like on a Letterboxd scale, I'd probably give it something like a 3 to 3.5. That part of me that loves these characters, that grew up watching the cartoons, that grew up reading the cheesy comics, loves seeing these movies if they're executed well enough. This just wasn't exceptional. This isn't on that level of like something I'm dying to revisit in theaters. I'll watch it again for sure. I'll probably see it many more times in the future just for a good comic book fun or rewatch the movies. When I look at something like last year with Madam Web or Craven the Hunter, this film is like an Endgame in comparison, right? But it's not Endgame. It's not Infinity War. It's ultimately, it's another comic book movie, but there's fun to out of it. So I'll say a solid 3 to 3.5. Take a look at my Letterboxd somewhere in the next week to see what it actually stays at.
That's fair. Yeah, I think for me, probably between 2.5 and 3 stars. Kind of in the middle of this one, but I also think something that's really important to take away is with Perez, for example, like he's a huge comic book fan. So like Stephen Compadres, for example, is like really true to an extent. Whereas me, I've never read the comics, so I don't have that. I'm like, oh, it's cool, That's kind of my experience. So it depends. If you're a comic fan, you might get more enjoyment. If you're not, you might be something like me, and more. So 2.5 and 3.
Yeah, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I think the action is there, and I think if you're looking for that, it is a lot more serious movie, so it's not like something like Deadpool and Wolverine where you're getting a lot of comedy. It's definitely a more serious movie. But like we said, it was predictable. I couldn't pick a lane when it came to a villain, and one of the main villains wasn't all that great. So I think it's one of those movies where you shut your brain off a little bit, you can enjoy the action and enjoy certain aspects of it. But it's nothing from a narrative level that's going to wow you by any means. It's a passing movie, but I don't think, from a perspective of we're getting ready to go into Phase 6, I don't know where this really stands as really hyping you up to get into the Avengers, where they're doing Secret Wars and stuff. So I don't know if it's really going to hype you up for that aspect. Right. But it's possible to watch.
Before we sign off for the night, I'm absolutely excited and appreciative to have all of some of my, not even some of, but literally my favorite creators on the platform, not just because of their content, but because they genuinely are great fans. Because they genuinely are great friends. And
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Fan and friend.
Yeah, fan and friend. But yeah, and so this, even beyond just the attitude and reaction, it's really good to be able to hang with you guys. See you in person, because I know this is a rarity. So we also thank you guys for enjoying us celebrating in that season. So without further ado, until next time, this is the Movie Man signing off, and I'll see you at the movies.
Give me Anthony A. Perez. Bye-bye.
And until next time that I see you guys, I'll be seeing you.
Peace out.